Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the marketplace. Coming up, inflation for the month of October drops to 35.2% following a marginal decline in food inflation. We'll hear from the government statistician.
The slowdown in food inflation is sharper as it decreased by 4.6 percentage points between September 2023 and October 2023 relative to the 1.6 percentage point drop for non-food inflation as it declined from 29.3% to 27.7% for the month of October 2023.
Also, ahead of the 2024 budget presentation, Chamber of Young Entrepreneurs questions government's failure to implement the Ustart program.
What plans they have going forward. Are we going to do it this year, especially when it's election year, or we are waiting to do it during the election year? So yes, it never materialized, and we want to know why and when they want to really do the Ustart.
Also ahead, reports of extortion by the police impacting on transit trade. We hear from the Ghana Shippers Authority, which is warning that importers are switching to other ports to transact business.
Sometimes there are delays, undue delays, which are quite unjustifiable, and demands for payments that are illegitimate.
My name is Daryl. Kwawu. Thanks for being with us. Details coming up. Don't go anywhere. And first up, the general price level of goods and services for the month of October 2023 has dropped to 35.2% from the 38.1% recorded in September this year. The Ghana Statistical Service attributes the decrease in general inflation to the marginal drop in food inflation. Food inflation in the period was 44.8%, while non-food was 27.7%. Here's government statistician Professor Samuel Kobna in him addressing the media.
Rate of inflation for the month of October 2023 stood at 35.2, which literally means that between October 2022 and October 2023, prices of goods and services went up by 35.2%. This rate of inflation, which signifies the third consecutive slowdown in the rate of inflation, is 2.9 percentage points lower than the rate that was recorded for September 2023, which had a rate of inflation of 38.1%. We disaggregate this rate of inflation from two perspectives: food and non-food inflation, and locally produced items and imported items. Between food and non-food inflation, food inflation was 44.8% for the month of October 2023, relative to 27.7% for non-food inflation for the same time, October 2023. The slowdown in food inflation is sharper as it decreased by 4.6 percentage points between September 2023 and October 2023 relative to the 1.6 percentage point drop for non-food inflation as it declined from 29.3% to 27.7% for the month of October 2023. From a locally produced item and in an imported item perspective, we recorded a 2.6 percentage point drop between inflation for imported items and inflation for locally produced items, with inflation for imported items 37.0% and inflation for locally produced items 34.4%. On a month-on-month basis, monthly rate of inflation for October 2023 stood at 0.6%, indicating that prices of goods and services between September 2023 and October 2023 went up by 0.6%. This indicates a 1.3 percentage point drop between the rate that was recorded in September 2023, 1.96%, relative to 0.6% for October 2023.
Now, Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Chamber of Young Entrepreneurs, Sheriff Gali, has accused government of failing to implement the Ustart program as promised. According to him, few small and medium-sized businesses have received funding from the program whilst in its pilot stage. Speaking on the Joy Business Pre-Budget Forum, Mr. Gali called for a clear roadmap on the administration of funds under such programs if government wants to address the challenge of funding in the SME sector.
Actually, it hasn't even not the resource, they couldn't even start them. And one of them was a Ustart that was targeted to create 1 million jobs. It was never implemented. There was a prototype. I don't know how you prototype giving money, but there was a prototype, and some few young entrepreneurs were giving some few monies, and then that was all. So it never materialized. And we would like to hear from the finance minister, why is it that we don't have the 10 million we promised, or we deliberately just gave the young people that no, we're going to create 1 million jobs and support those of you who want to be entrepreneurs. So we really want to see why it never materialized. And secondly, we would want to see what plans they have going forward. Are we going to do it this year, especially when it's election year, or we are waiting to do it during the election year? So yes, it never materialized, and we want to know why and when they want to really do the Ustart.
Now, the Ghana Shippers Authority is concerned that reports of extortion by the police along the country's international corridors is affecting transit trade. The head of Freight and Logistics Department, Fred Usart, said the unfortunate incident harms the drive to improve transit trade as importers from the country's landlocked neighbors are switching to other ports to supply their trade. He spoke to the media at a sensitization workshop in Ho, sanctioned by the Inspector General of Police, to enable the authority educate the police personnel on freight operations.
Increased police checkpoints, illegitimate demand of money from freight drivers, and Goro boys at the borders, among others, have been identified as challenges impeding the smooth transport of goods through Ghana's corridor to neighboring countries. The head of Freight and Logistics Department of the Ghana Shippers Authority, Fred Usart, lamented the negative impact of the development.
One of the major challenges of transit trade is the numerous police checkpoints on the corridor. At the last count, we had about 68 checkpoints from Tema to Paga, for instance, and these are manned by police officers. It is not so much the number, but it is what is important is what happens at the border or at the checkpoint, because you realize that sometimes there are delays, undue delays, which are quite unjustifiable, and demands for payments that are illegitimate, and consequently these impact negatively on the drive to improve transit trade through our corridors.
In a bid to curtail the reported harassment and other challenges, the Ghana Shippers Authority embarked on a sensitization drive to educate police officers. The drive focuses on the significant contribution of the transit trade to the country's economy and the need for police officers to be professional when dealing with freight drivers.
We want to ensure that every police officer has had this sensitization, and so that we can improve the transit trade through our corridors. Because indeed, it is one major source of revenue that not many people appreciate. Some conservative estimates show that we're earning in excess of $34 million annually, as a result of this trade. And I do think that all stakeholders need to be well apprised on this, and then also to conduct themselves accordingly.
Mr. Usart explained that freight drivers are not expected to make any payments after meeting all financial obligations at the port unless vehicles are found to be overloaded.
The only issues that may arise that may require for a transit consignment to make payments is when at a particular axle load station they are found to have been overweight. And once you are overweight, obviously, there are penalties that would go with such infringements. And so those ones I would call legitimate payments.
Fred Usart, Joy News. Ho.
Well, next to the Ashanti region, where the Asante Inotunfo said the second is aiming to industrialize agriculture in that region and across the country through a partnership with France. The Asante Hene believes funding and technical support from the French for value addition to agriculture will drive employment, cut imports, and improve export of Ghanaian produce. He addressed the French ambassador to Ghana, Jules Armand Anyamboso, who paid a courtesy call at the Menchia Palace. Clinton Yeboah has more in the following report.
Ghana has earnestly been working towards advancing the fourth industrial revolution to integrate digital technologies and artificial intelligence into diverse aspects of the country. This is to enhance industrialization, create jobs, improve the economy, and ensure sustainability. These efforts require technical, vocational, and social alliances among entities in and across the country. The Asantehene Otumfuo Osei Tutu II is confident an industrial collaboration will foster agribusinesses and mitigate Ghana's economic woes.
I would want to talk about the collaboration between France and Ghana. But I thank the French government very much for the road that you constructed for us, all the way down to Kontenasi, the lakeside. Industry, for example, with your experience, our economy has been going through some turmoil because of imports. So we need to industrialize and add value to agricultural products. So we stand to learn from you in relation to how we can industrialize our country. By doing that, we need agriculture. And producing food, we want to add value to it by setting up our industries. And I believe France would be in a position to collaborate with us on that front. So what I seek from you is, whilst during your term here, how can we transform our agriculture and increase our products and then use industry also to add value to that so that we can consume and export. So on your visit today, I want to firm up with you what we can do on that. But we need to be self-sufficient. We need to be able to produce ourselves and then build our economy and everything. We cannot rely on imports. So agriculture is the mainstay of this country, the economy. No matter what oil you talk about and mining you talk about, agriculture is the mainstay. So we will need technical support. We need the funding and technical support for us to be able to increase agricultural products to help develop the economy.
French ambassador to Ghana, Jules Aman and Nyambosu, joined the celebration of Ewukude at the Mensha Palace with his entourage to pay homage to the Asantehene. He is positive of the partnership to drive development.
Not only be proud of your king, but also proud of what you are, and together what we could do together. And we, in France, in Europe, also in West Africa and beyond, is still under the scene, is still playing in many matters and issues.
Reporting for Joy News, Clinton Yeboah.
Now, the Open Forum on Agricultural Biotechnology OFAB Ghana chapter is making a strong case for government to be heavy on technology to improve productivity and income of rural smallholder farmers. According to the National Coordinator, Richard Ampedon-Mayao, this will aid in Ghana's fight against food insecurity. He spoke to Joy Business at the 2023 OFAB Media Awards ceremony.
The OFAB Annual Media Awards was initiated to promote excellence in science journalism and appreciate the contribution of journalists in promoting sustainable agricultural technologies, particularly in agro-biotechnology. OFAB National Coordinator called for a creation of an enabling environment for biotechnology research, development, and deployment for the benefit of these smallholder farmers.
So if we want to grow food security, we need to produce enough. And to produce enough means that we need more resources. More resources in the hands of the existing farmers. And not just the resources as people will talk about money and tools, chemicals and the rest. But we also need to equip our farmers with knowledge about technologies that we have available to boost production.
On this part, Awadi Nana Yarubin called for more sensitization on agricultural technology for these farmers.
My motivation and my story was, it is time scientists tell their own story. It is time scientists avail themselves to media personnel, journalists, TV stations, and narrate and tell the stories about the GM technology. And for me, I think that once scientists avail themselves and start speaking about this technology, the misinformation and the perception, the bad perception around the technology will go down drastically, and it's going to help increase our food security in Ghana and in West Africa.
The award was under the theme, credible science reporting, a tool for science-led economic development in Ghana.
Well, from agriculture, we have some news from the financial sector. The chief executive of the Chartered Institute of Bankers Ghana, Robert Jatto, has said that the institute will continue to train professional bankers to help grow the financial sector. He spoke to Joy Business after the institute welcomed 156 professional bankers as chartered bankers and graduated 5 students as professional bankers.
The event, held under the theme Redefining Professionalism in Banking Through Ethics, also marked a significant milestone for CIB Ghana as it coincided with the Institute's 60th anniversary celebration. The ceremony brought together banking professionals, industry experts, and distinguished guests who gathered to witness the induction of these 156 new members and the graduation of 5 individuals. Chief Executive Officer of the Institute, Robert Jatto, said professional bankers must build confidence in the financial markets.
At Chartered Institute of Bankers Ghana, our mandate is to promote banking education and to regulate the practice of banking in Ghana. What does that mean? Developing trusted financial services professionals for our industry. So we are extremely excited that today we have graduated and inducted 161 newly chartered bankers or trusted professionals for the banking sector. And that brings to close to 800 chartered bankers that we've developed in the last 4 years. And the mandate and the charge we've given them really is to go and redefine professionalism in the banking sector and make a difference for themselves, but also for the organizations they work for, and certainly for society, our country as a whole.
A staff of Fidelity Bank, Alexander Noni, was the best graduating student.
I told my colleagues, inductees and graduates that this qualification that we have received is actually an enabler. And we've been told time and time again that once we have this enabler, it means we are head and shoulders above our peers. And so what it says is that we need to make sure we utilize this knowledge and skills that we have gained in our various banks. Wherever you find yourself, whether you're a teller like I was telling them, whether you're a relationship manager, you're a branch manager, wherever you find yourself, you need to make an impact.
The Securities and Exchange Commission has admitted the evolving capital and investment market is a contributing factor to the proliferation of fraudulent investment schemes. These schemes attract investors, robbing them of their capital and hard-earned resources. Deputy Director General of Finance at the Commission, Dr. Paul Abebio, has disclosed there is ongoing public education to caution potential investors against fraudulent but enticing schemes. Here's more.
Perpetrated by unscrupulous individuals who use enticing investment returns as cover to defraud people. The Securities and Exchange Commission has been mandated to regulate and promote the growth of an efficient and transparent securities market in which investors and the integrity of the market are protected. According to Dr. Paul Abebu, there is an ongoing measure to guard against Ponzi schemes.
Occurred around the time of the financial sector cleanup. This is because there's what we call interconnectedness. A crisis in one sector can affect the other. So in 2018, and until then, the regulators were not dialoguing that frequently. So in 2018, we set up what we call a Financial Stability Council, which has all the major financial sector regulators at a table. You have the Bank of Ghana, you have NPRA, you have NIC, you have the GDPC, Ghana Deposit Protection Corporation, and you have FIC and ourselves, the Securities and Exchange Commission. This allows us to coordinate and identify risks that are emerging in the financial sector so that we can take action in a more proactive and a more coordinated way.
He was speaking at the Financial Literacy Conference designed to educate students on the role of the Securities Exchange Commission in the financial sector, how to identify and detect fraudulent schemes, and make smart financial choices. The over 1,500 participants were also taken through career opportunities in the financial sector. The investment education program dubbed Time with the SEC, SHS edition, forms part of the 25th anniversary of the Commission. Dr. Abebiu, addressing the theme, deepening and diversifying Ghana's capital market towards a more resilient financial system, admonished the youth to cultivate habits of making smart economic choices.
SEC launched a 10-year capital market master plan. It's a far-reaching document that hopes to grow the market for it to become a deep, diversified, and well-regulated securities market. Some of the people here in 10 years' time will be 28 years old, 27 years old. They are the future of the market. We expect them to understand these things. When they are starting a business, they can start to think of some of these dynamics. When they have excess funds, they're a bit more careful about investing. And so that's one impact we expect to have.
The Financial Literacy Conference was organized by the Securities and Exchange Commission in partnership with the Young Investors Network. President of Young Investors Network, Joshua Kwi Mensah, also added that
financial literacy is not just about understanding the stock markets or reading financial statements. It's about empowering oneself with knowledge to make informed decisions. It's about understanding the risk and reward, distinguishing between short-term gains and long-term investments, and navigating the complex world of finance with confidence.
Beneficiaries were glad to receive the financial education. Reporting for Joy News, Clinton Yabwa.
Well, next to Kenya, where the United Nations Environment Programme is calling on the international community to provide financial support for developing countries to transition and adapt to the new wave of tackling the plastics menace. Now, every year, nations around the world produce around 350 million metric tons of plastic waste, raising health and sustainability concerns. In a bid to contain the crisis, the third intergovernmental negotiations on plastic pollution is underway in Nairobi, Kenya, aiming to create an international law that will properly regulate the plastics industry. Head of Joy News' Diplomatic Affairs desk, Beze Suga, has more from there.
Well, Daryl, as the intergovernmental negotiations continue on dealing with the plastic pollution, countries around the world, including Ghana, are mindful of the economic impact, especially on developing nations. Based on this, the United Nations Environment Programme says it is mindful of the possible impact on countries that are seeking to transition. That's why they're calling for a just transition, which will ensure equitable access to financing, which will provide alternative livelihoods for many who might be leaving the plastic industry soon. Well, we've been hearing from Ms. Anderson, who's the Executive Director for the United Nations Environment Programme, explaining why funding will be necessary for these developing countries.
We produce about 430 million tons a year, and only 10% of that is recycled. 74% ends up in landfills, and from there it goes into the environment, or it already goes straight into the environment. So we have to take action. We also understand that there are chemicals associated with these plastics, many of them harmful. And we also, of course, understand that when we end up burning plastic, we are causing significant climate impact. So that's why 18 months ago here in this beautiful compound of the United Nations at Nairobi, member states took the decision to start this process with the resolutions on plastic. Now, I want to emphasize, as I did in my opening speech in the plenary, that the life cycle element is crucial. This instrument is not about recycling and improving recycling. This instrument is not just about waste management or cleanups. It is about a complete rethink on how we use plastics. We need fewer virgin materials. We need to reduce the unnecessary and eliminate the unnecessary, those mindless plastics that we just use for 5 minutes, but 500 years in the landfill kind of plastics. We need to rethink completely, and we need to not have harmful chemicals in that which remains. And obviously, we need to think about getting plastic out of nature, reduce the climate impact, and about that which we speak to, a just transition. Just transition that includes decent jobs for those today who work in the plastics industry. Decent jobs and opportunities for waste pickers and for the communities impacting. Now, we have to account for national circumstances. I think we all understand that. And there are different capabilities, and that's part of the negotiations for sure, to have an understanding of those differences and provide. So we have to find support financial support to provide for those that need it. And of course, we encourage industry already now to lean in on this and to be part of this change, to lead the change, to innovate, and to rethink and imagine what other products could be like. But we also need to incentivize industry innovation and especially on non-plastic substitutes and alternatives for better use of plastic. These are some of the instruments and the levers that negotiators have at their hands and at their disposal to think about in the context of the negotiations.
There's Ogan reporting for Joy News, Nairobi, Kenya.
Now, the Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communications, GIFEC, says it is committed to providing access to information technology to underserved societies. Chief Executive Prince Sefa says GIFEC is bent on building an inclusive digital society. He spoke to Joy Business at the launch of a project to introduce computer basics for the visually impaired at the University of Ghana.
GIFEC, ITU, Cisco, NORAD, DTC project that we have has launched what is called Project Path. So Project Path is one that is training 20 trainers in terms of how basic computing with respect to people with special needs. So we came here to launch this program. It's a 2-week program, and we were very excited by it. Not only are we looking to do this TOT, which is the training of trainers, but we're also looking at how we leverage this so that we can train even more people, empower more people who have special needs, and spread this across the country. So this is just the beginning. And so we came here to tell everybody that this is something that GIFEC supports. GIFEC is committed to its mandate.
And that's the marketplace. There is more news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. You can read more about the Joy Business Pre-Budget Forum, focus on industrialization to save city from perennial free fall. That's according to the AGI, myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Daryl. Kwawu. Thanks for watching.